This next way of forming the fire egg is actually a very, very quick and fairly simple method that can be used when you're out camping. The supplies are fairly simple. You need a canning jar, or if you lack a canning jar, you could use an open-ended can, anything that's metal or glass, but you need some way of making a seal around the top. So if you don't have a screw-down lid, you could stretch the space blanket over the top of it and then use butter or something to make a seal and twist tie, or string to make it sealed. You need a little corner that you've taken off of a space blanket, and you need some way of getting that jar warmer than the air that's around you. For that reason, this works far better in cold temperatures than it does during summer. For the purpose of this illustration, I'm just using a little bit of warm water, although you could use any warm fluid that a scout happened to carry around with him at all times if it's not been already used to put out a fire. The warm liquid goes into the jar. You want to swirl that around so it both warms the jar and warms the air inside the jar. That's the important part, because what we want to do is get the jar warmer than the surrounding air, and then we're going to let that cool down after you've sealed the top, and that will form a vacuum inside the jar. Okay, that's nice and warm. I'm actually going to pour most of that out except for just a little bit. You put the space blanket on the top. You're going to secure that down with the ring. And then just let it cool. As it cools, you see it draws that space blanket down tight and stretches it into a very reflective surface. That reflective surface is going to be good enough to reflect the sun's rays and allow you to start a fire. Alright, here's our parabolic reflector made out of a piece of space blanket in a jar. We're going to line that up with the sun by looking at the shadow and trying to adjust that until we get the smallest possible shadow for it. We know it's pointing to the sun. And then you'll have to experiment and find just, well, there it is. There's our focal point, and our tinder's off and smoking.